Hi, I'm Samuel Hollywood Summers, a sound designer and composer based in Exeter in the UK, and today I'm going to show you my project Bright Ideas. Now this is a game which is also an interactive music experience, and I made it for the Games Jobs Live Game Parade 2021, or the spring version of their game jam. The theme for this jam was Strength Lies in Differences. The type of differences that I chose to focus on were differences of thought and opinion. So I think it's really important that you don't just go through life focusing on your own ideas and never being exposed to others. I think it's really important to listen to the ideas of other people, people who have different opinions or outlooks to yourself, and try to really understand where other people are coming from. That was the basis of the idea. Going into the jam, I knew I wanted to create an interactive music experience that was loosely based on an idea of a sound sculpture that I'd heard of. Never actually seen this piece of work, and I can't remember who it's by. I'll probably put some text here. But the sound sculpture is a pool of water, and the pool has waves and movement of the water itself, and in that pool are a whole bunch of bowls. Each of these bowls, when it's struck or it collides with something, produces a sound which has a musical tone. There's a tonal quality to that sound, so if you have lots of different bowls with different sizes, they have different pitches, and if you select the sizes and therefore the pitches of these bowls really carefully, you can have a nice combination of notes that forms a chord or a scale that is pleasing to the ear. So that was my idea going in. I wanted to create objects that would fly around the screen. Whatever the objects were, that wasn't really relevant. Objects that would fly around the screen and collide and bump into each other, and on these collisions happening, a sound would play. The way that I took this idea and applied it to this jam was that the objects were going to be light bulbs. People associate that image of a light bulb with ideas, and so that was how I chose to represent these ideas in an abstract way in my game. The idea of the light bulbs allowed me to have a natural way of displaying states. A light bulb can be on or it can be off, and I wanted to still have that kind of percussive, fast attack, fast decay kind of sound that could represent almost like the glass of the light bulb. And whenever the light bulb was on, I liked the idea of having a hum. So I knew that I wanted at least one of the bulbs to have like a 50 hertz hum, which is 50 hertz is how often the alternating current in the UK alternates. The closest note to 50 hertz is actually a G, which is slightly lower at 49 point something hertz. Again, that might appear on screen. So I made sure that one of these light bulbs would be a 50 hertz-ish hum, a G. G is part of the C major scale, a nice easy scale to work with, just the white keys. But I've done generative music before, where you have all these random notes, and when you've got a lot of random notes, the 7th scale degree can feel quite dissonant. I like the amount of dissonance, or the amount of interesting harmony that you get from the major scale minus the 7th scale degree, so just the 1st through to the 6th, and then the octave. Having those scale degrees present sounds to me very pleasant. So I've done music like that before, and that's the approach I chose to take this time. So every bulb in the game has a percussive sound when it collides with something, and it also will have a hum associated with it. Some of them are low, like the G I mentioned, they're really low pitched. I don't have perfect pitch, so I probably didn't hum a G there, but anyway, some really low humming, some mid-frequency humming, and some higher pitched humming, and the percussive elements, and they combine to sound like this. The project was made in the Unity game engine, and also used the Wwise audio middleware to handle the audio. I made all of the visual assets and all of the sound assets during the game jam, apart from the ambiences that you can hear on the menu screen and underneath the musical tones. All of the ambiences are part of a sound pack from a crowdsourced field recording, ambience recording project put together by Tim Nielsen, which was the My Home crowdsourced sound library. One of my recordings is there from Exeter in the city centre, and there's also recordings from all over the world, and that's another way of inviting this idea of strength lies in differences. The theme into my game was to have the sound of lots of different countries around the world invited in. Everything else was made by me during the jam. The approach I took was to make all of the assets first. So I drew out all of the bulbs just with a marker on paper and scanned them in, trimmed them so that the backgrounds could be transparent and they are just the shape that they need to be as PNG files. I also recorded the sounds, so in Logic I used some sample-based instruments that I have on my machine, I used some synthesizers, and I also recorded the sound of a bicycle bell. It's a really ugly bicycle bell that I bought for my wife that she didn't want. That's in there, so I've made use of this gift that was never wanted. And I think it was actually this sort of muted kind of sound that I used in the end. And all of the light bulbs are actually me, so the humming of the light bulb is the humming of me. My voice, my humming. To make sure I could really hit those really low notes and the high notes consistently, I used a bit of auto-tune on there. I say auto-tune, Logic's own pitch correction. I also wanted those notes to be sustained for quite a long time, and I can only sing a note for a certain amount of time. I'm not Jeff Buckley. I can't sustain a note for forever. So overlapped a few recordings of myself humming to be a bit longer, and made sure that I had seamless loops that I could then put into Wwise, so that as the sound is playing, you're never going to hear any clicks or bad edits. In Wwise, I created some events for different situations, and these events would be called by the Unity game code. I decided to treat the percussive sounds and the loops separately, because I would call the percussive sounds whenever there was a collision, nice and simple. Put in that Wwise API call, the Wwise audio event call in the game code whenever there's a collision. The game code that dealt with whether or not my lights were on or off in the game also sent a different event call that would either start the loop playing or stop it. I treated that differently in Wwise because I knew that's how I wanted the game to communicate these things to Wwise. The percussive sounds are playing any one of 6 different sounds, so each bulb has its own sort of tonal type of sound, but there could be one of 6 different notes produced by any one of these bulbs. So for example, for my conventional bulb, there are 6 different audio files as sound effects within Wwise inside of a random container, and the random container is just picking one at random and playing that one anytime there's a collision. So if you trigger the event, it will play a random sound, one of these 6 files, and if you trigger it again, it will pick a different random one and different and different and different. You can just keep triggering that and it will just play one of these 6 random notes. So there's a lot of randomness in this particular piece of music, this generative interactive thing. They're always going to be one of the 6 notes from the scale that I've chosen, so they should always be pleasing to the ear. And I treated the looping, humming sounds separately. As I said, there is a separate event to call the start of this to just play it, and just within the Wwise sort of environment inspector, I've got it checked so that this will loop. So when you trigger the start of this, it will just play and loop forever until it's told to do something different. So I set up a different event, which its only job is to stop the loop from playing. So it's important that each bulb is treated differently. So this play and this stop are treated just for that particular game object. The Wwise events are set up on the scope level of this particular game object. And I think it's pretty much just that simple. This is my 3rd ever game jam I participated in solo, so it was just me working on the game. So I did all the game code, all the assets, got everything together, and I was really able to achieve my own vision for the game, which was really cool. I'm super into generative music, and I'm also into accessibility and making things easy to interpret, easy to understand, and easy to participate in. And I think that this project did achieve those goals. We've got a piece of music that once you get it started, it will just carry on its own, or you can really actively engage in it and interact with it as much as you want. And I think it's pretty self-explanatory, the gameplay. I think that's all I want to say about it now, so I'm just going to leave you with a bit more footage of the game playing for you to enjoy. If you want to follow along with this project, then down in the description you'll be able to find links to my itch page where you can download the game. You can follow me on itch, you can subscribe to me and follow me here on YouTube. I'm on Twitter and all the different social media. But if you have any questions or you just have anything interesting to say about what I've done here, comment below. Thanks for coming, thanks for watching, and see you soon.